Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 999.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about why mining stocks are performing so well. Because there is a sea of red out there right now, unfortunately, because the stock market is having a bit of turmoil with all of the geopolitical events that are happening around the world. And so we see that the stock market, looked at through the S&P 500 index, is down 7.95% year to date. The Dow is down 5.41% year to date, and the Nasdaq is down 12.33% year to date. But among the sea of red, we do have some green, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Because you always want to focus on the positive. You always want to look at the bright side of things and be optimistic. And I am optimistic that the stock market will recover once we're through this difficult geopolitical situation that's going on. So let's talk about the precious metals and why they are performing when the broader averages of stocks are not performing. Well, first of all, we had something interesting happen with silver at the beginning of this year. And that was that the U.S. Mint sold 5 million ounces of silver just in January. And that was the best start of the year since 2017. So in the past 5 years, the U.S. Mint has not sold as many ounces of silver in January as they did this past January. That tells us that people are wanting to stock up on silver coins and have a little bit more security and surety just in case we have more issues with our fiat money. Fiat money, of course, is money backed by absolutely nothing. It is not tied to the gold standard anymore and hasn't been since 1971. So all we have is paper. And the unfortunate thing about paper money is that it can be created into oblivion. And that is exactly why we're seeing some issues with the dollar, why we're seeing some issues with inflation other than supply chain shortages, etc. It's because 40% of all the money out there was created in the last 18 months. And this is what happens to prices when fiat paper money gets printed in too much supply. What isn't in too much supply is silver and gold, precious metals. Silver, of course, is more rare than gold, even though its price is lower. It's been proven that banks suppress the price of silver in order to not have it compete with their paper money. But also, silver is something that is used by technology. It's needed in solar panels and cell phones and computers and electric vehicles. These are things that all require a lot of silver. So Apple computers out there probably negotiating some silver purchases. So is Tesla. So are the other electric vehicle companies. And yet we see the price of silver still in the low $20. But as you know, I believe things move in cycles, and this is the year that silver is going to have its cycle, I believe. So we're already starting to see that silver, rather than being down 5 to 12% like the stock market averages, is actually up 1.94% and is up 50.98% for the last 3 years. Now, silver is very volatile, and its price jumps around a lot. And one of the ways we take advantage of that is by investing in companies that mine silver. Now, since the pandemic, a lot of the mines actually closed down and weren't producing any more silver or gold. And that happened around the world. So production has been reduced, and yet we haven't seen a huge spike in the metal price. But I think this is the year that that happens. And what we're starting to see right now is prices of mining stocks start to increase. So in small gold mining stocks, gold and actually silver mining stocks too are in there. and GDXJ, we're seeing those stocks up 3.7% year to date. For the small silver mining stocks, junior silver miners, we're seeing those stocks up 4.17% year to date. And for the large mining companies, we're seeing those shares in the ETF up 8.59% year to date. So silver and mining stocks are a bright spot in the market right now, and that's another reason we want to have them in our portfolio, because when other things are going down, these are going up. When you have uncertainty in government or a lack of confidence in government, this is when precious metals can perform well. Add that with the COVID restrictions of supply, the increased demand for especially silver during a time when we're going into the quantum age, which is more technology, going to space, electric vehicles, solar panels, and other forms of green energy. All of that needs silver. And that's why we think the demand for silver is going to grow exponentially while the supply of silver is really restricted. That's the perfect scenario for silver, especially to do well this year. So if you haven't put silver in your portfolio yet, this is still a great time to do it. Prices are still low, and it's still the most undervalued asset on the entire planet, and that's no exaggeration. Silver is cheaper today than it was 40 years ago, and I cannot think of one other thing I can say that about. One more point I want to make, and that is, anytime a fiat currency has failed, and fiat currencies have failed 100% of the time, currencies that are backed by nothing have always failed. It usually takes about 100 years for it to happen, and we are over that time horizon, so we are past due. But here's what happens after a fiat currency fails. A new currency is brought in, and that new currency is tied to precious metals. So whether we have digital assets that are tied to precious metals or a new treasury note that's tied to precious metals, my bet is one day we will see a new version of our currency backed by, you guessed it, silver and gold. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified of new podcasts so you never miss one of them. And if you want to know more about currencies and our dilemma that we're in, check out my new book, 3 Steps to Quantum Wealth, The Wealth Heiress's Guide to Financial Freedom by Investing in Cryptocurrencies. In that book, I talk about fiat currencies and the issues that we have with so much money that's been created and what I think the answer is going to be. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.